All right, everybody, we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you so much for coming to Startup Stories today and joining us for lunch. There's plenty of U.S. pizza, so go grab some. We are happy to have you all here today for Startup Stories. These are some of our favorite events that we put on, and they're really awesome to attend and hear from entrepreneurs. We're Conductor, and we offer no-cost resources to small business owners, leaders, and entrepreneurs here in Central Arkansas. So we do this through consults, we do this through events, workshops, and pitch competitions. And so if you have questions about our services, what we do here, you can visit arconductor.org. We just got a new website that we're really proud of. So we would love it if you go check that out and just see all of our offerings and what we have and ask us any questions. Our team is usually hanging at the back. So if you have questions for any of us at the end of today, please come see us. And this is the Arnold Innovation Center. So this was given to us by Arnold Corporation. And this is where Mark and a lot of other entrepreneurs that are here today work out of. We co-work out of here for as low as $25 a month. So it's a really great affordable space for entrepreneurs, and we pride ourselves on having a great community of people like Mark. So I'll let him go and get started. This is Mark with Emprise Digital. He is an entrepreneur, husband, girl dad. He is a great community member of Having Startup Stories, and so we just love having Mark around, and say that he's just such a great connector and part of our community. So everybody, give Mark a round of applause.
Thank you so much for coming, all of my family and friends and business partners and clients and everyone. Just thank you for being here. Really, really excited. We did have this planned in January. We had a snow day, and so we postponed it to today. We're really grateful that everyone is able to be here. And yeah, I'll just be sharing kind of the story of Emprise Digital, our agency, how we got started, what it is we do, kind of our path to success, if you will, where we're at today, and then hit a couple more things at the end. And then I'd love to open up, have a good chunk of time here at the end for questions or thoughts or comments, anything that you guys want to know about the PPC advertising world or just marketing in general. I would love to kind of open the floor for some of those things. And thank you for everyone tuning in online. I know we have one or two of our team members who are tuning in online. So, man, thanks for being here. And as Mallory said, my name is Mark. I'm the CEO of Emprise Digital. We are an advertising company that specializes in Google Ads. That's what we do. We're the Google guys. And we got started 8 years ago in 2016. And to kind of give an intro of what it is we do and what Google Ads means and whatnot, I'll kind of pitch it the same way I would if I were to meet someone and to say, hey, if you need help with your advertising, this would kind of be my elevator pitch to them. So I'd start off by saying something along the lines of like, does your marketing feel like, a black hole that you just throw money into and you have no clue where it goes? And usually people are like, yeah, sometimes it does feel like that. And then we say, well, for us at Emprise Digital, we don't think that marketing should be a gamble. We think that your advertising and your marketing should be a well-oiled machine. And then I may ask something like, if you're good at your job, you probably don't have a ton of time to read like 40-page analytics reports, right? And they're like, oh yeah, for sure. And then we say, well, we have one-page reports that are very simple and easy to read. And so that kind of keeps on going, and we talk through all of the things that we do. And essentially we say, look, we only do one thing, and it's Google. We do Google and YouTube advertising, which is owned by Google. We do one-page reporting, and we're easier to cancel than the Netflix subscription. That's another thing kind of in the agency world is like you get locked into a year-long contract, and 3 months in, you're like, this isn't going so great. Like, we kind of wish that we hadn't signed up for 12 months of this. We're not like that. In fact, once we get an account set up, then you literally have no contract. There's no sign on the dotted line. It's just, and the phrase we use for that is, if we ever stop adding exponential value to you and your organization, why would you keep paying us? So that's kind of the ethos that we say there. So that's a little bit about our organization. And as far as us getting started, it's kind of a little bit of an origin story. About 10 years ago, my business partner, Aaron, and I worked at a startup out of Florida. I will not say the name because some of the connotation is rather negative about the startup. So there was a startup out of Florida that we worked with. They had some issues, and this was about 10 years ago. And it was an agency that did more social media management and consulting. So this is kind of where we cut our teeth and learned the digital world and learned about running an agency and how to serve clients and whatnot. But it was very social media heavy. And that was about 10 years ago. And while we were there, we discovered this really cool thing called the Google Grant, which is a grant for 501c3 nonprofits where they can get access to Google Ads. And Google will literally give you up to $10,000 a month in free advertising. And we heard that, we're like, my goodness, that is quite the deal. And so we started looking into it because this startup was very fluid in the product offerings. And so we're like, hey, does anyone have any ideas? Like, what else can we sell people? And so we were like, there's this thing called the Google Grant. It's amazing. And so we kind of pitched it to the startup. It's like, guys, this is incredible. These Google Grants are out there. There's all this money for nonprofits that's just waiting to be taken. But there was an interesting statistic back then where the average Google Grant would only spend $330 a month out of the available $10,000. Which we're like, that's crazy. And it wasn't just like, people who were YouTubing it, attempting to figure it out on their own. That was across the board. So if you take the pros and you average out all the amateurs, you still had an average monthly spend on that grant of about $330. And so we're like, we can do better than that. Like, we can for sure add more value than whatever the average is. And so the startup we were with decided not to go that route. And as far as any other lessons we learned at this stage, it was definitely a lot of let's learn not how to run a business. Let's learn what not to do for running an advertising agency, doing marketing full time. The image that I get in my head when I think of the example, here's what's not to do, is one night in particular when I was in Florida and I was in a hotel room and it was 2 a.m. and I was coding a product that was getting launched the next day at an event with 20,000 people. And the product was already announced. Our startup said, this is our product. It will be launched. It will be this day. And then the day before, the CEO came to me and was like, hey, Mark, can you code this product? I was like, I'm not a programmer and I don't know how to code. But, well, we need it by tomorrow because we're going to tell 20,000 people that they can swipe their credit card. And I was like, okay. And so I remember I had this image of me on my laptop, Googling, how do you code things? And can I just copy paste what someone else built maybe? And at 2 a.m. So that's that's the snapshot. And that's also why I don't share the name. Because that was the world that I lived in. And so if you can imagine what kind of business were you involved in? That's the kind of business that we were involved in. So what's interesting is it wasn't too long after that we were back in Conway. We were working remotely, and specifically we're working at Zateo down the street. And there was one day where going to Zateo, our whole team we're in the meeting room there, and we all get around and I open up my laptop and I go to log into Buffer, which was a tool we used for social media management back then. And I think it was 10:15 a.m. And I go to log into Buffer and my login doesn't work. That's weird. Because we had all of our passwords saved and stuff. So I was like, I didn't mistype it in. It's just a copy pasted password. I wonder why that didn't work. And so I was like, hey, is Buffer not working for anyone? What's going on here? And so eventually I was like, I'll just move on to something else. So then I go into another one of our tools and mention my email, mention my password, and that password didn't work. And it was at that time that I looked up across the table at Aaron, my business partner, and said, Aaron, if I didn't know any better, well, first I asked, where's the CEO right now? And he said, oh, he's in a meeting with our largest client. We were basically a one, we had 16,000 members, but it was basically all through one corporation. And so they were if that client was the business essentially, which is another business lessons you learn is don't put all of your eggs in one basket. So he's like, yeah, he's in a meeting with the execs of this corporation. I was like, when did the meeting start? He's like, 10 a.m. And I'm looking, it's 10:15, 10:20, and I was like, if I didn't know any better, I would say we're getting shut down right now. And he kind of gave me this look that is crazy, but I actually don't disagree. And so it turns out we didn't get any work done because there really wasn't anything to do. And we got a phone call about 45 minutes to an hour later, and the entire organization had been shut down. Which this was a brilliant, shrewd business move on the corporation side. The CEO was known to be an absolute wild card. And so what they did is they scheduled a meeting with the CEO at 10 a.m. And when the CEO walked into the meeting, they had their IT team literally start take every single component and shutting everything down, because they knew if they fired the CEO, then the CEO would immediately go try to grab and take it, even though we didn't own any of that stuff. That would have been the reaction. And so it was crazy. And in one day, we did not have jobs. And not in one day, it's okay, here's the package that you get, or here's the we're gonna offboard and use the money we have in the bank account to help you find a new job, or what. No, literally we woke up, by the time we went to bed that night, there was no more paychecks. After that was the last paycheck we'd received from whichever one was before that. And we just didn't have jobs anymore. And Aaron was married and had a kid at this point. And so he immediately just he's like, I literally have to just go find somewhere to pay bills so that I can put food on the table. Now I was still in college at this point, and so I was a little more it's whatever, but still not fun for sure. And so I began doing some social media work with a local nonprofit here in Conway, and I was also working at Textbook Brokers over by UCA. Great job at the same time. So I was doing a couple different things with them to make ends meet. But that was kind of this crazy origin story of how we got started, and it was really rough. It was a very jarring thing to go from, hey, we're at this cool company and agency and then just absolutely nothing all at once. And so that kind of fostered the conversation of, okay, well, we have all this knowledge, we have all this experience, what do we do? What do we want to do in this space? And we just kept on coming back to, in that conversation, man, the Google Grant thing is just incredible. We could add so much value to so many nonprofits and do something really incredible. We could build something that we are proud of. We could build a business we love working at, that other people love working at, that's built on culture. And so that's kind of where all of that stuff started. And so, in fact, I will say this as well. Before we even had the name Emprise Digital, so before we had a business plan, before we had a name, we had what is still to this day our number one core value. And that's that we always add exponential value. So in our business, our number one core value is always add exponential value to our clients, to our employees, to our white label partnerships, to everyone that we do business with. If we are in a business meeting and it is just to take a look at something for somebody with no strings attached, no guarantees, we still want to add exponential value in that one meeting because we want this to be the way that we are every single day. And that is something we had before anything else. And it's the one thing that has maintained and stayed the same and only gotten more important over the last 8 years. Okay, so 2016 is the first year that we started our business. This is also the year that I married my beautiful wife, Jessica. And so there were a lot of crazy things happening that year, big year for the McNair family. My dad joke to describe this for 2016 is that we were poo. And we were poo because we were so poor that we couldn't afford the R. So this is us sitting in our kitchen where we did not have money to buy a table or chairs. And so we sat on the floor and ate food. And my favorite thing about this photo is we've got this super nice dinnerware that we got as a wedding gift. And so we're eating $100 plates, our food, and sitting on the floor without a table and chairs. The even better part of that is that we returned this for the money because it felt too bougie for us. So we were like, let's go get plates at Walmart and just use that money for something else, like a chair. And so that was the first year of us as a married couple, and then also the first year of our business. And how we started out is the local nonprofit, which, by the way, is Life Choices Inc. down on Donaghy. If you are looking for a place to give all of your tax-deductible donations to, then they are probably the best option in Conway. They're absolutely incredible, and Maria's here with us today. Thank you, Maria, for being here. incredible organization, and they took a chance on us that first year. I came to Maria and I said, hey, Maria, there's this awesome thing. It's called a Google grant. I'm going to be real with you. I don't know if we can do this well. Like the average spend is only $330 a month. So it's really hard to utilize all 10,000 of the dollars. But what I told her is I said, let's do a 3-month test. We will work for you for free for 3 months and see what happens. With the stipulation that if it goes well, then you can start paying us. And it was pretty easy to say yes to, I feel like. And so it was like, okay, well, let's see how it goes. And if it goes really well, then we'll start paying you. And so we did that, and it went tremendously well. We were over 10 times the average monthly spend after the first 3 months or so, I believe. And it went so well that Maria actually invited us to a statewide directors meeting for all of the nonprofits that were similar to hers across Arkansas. And so we started with a 3-month beta test. We did that for free. We worked for free for 3 months just to get proof of concept. So let's go ahead and start this thing. Let's see if we can do it well. And then after 3 months, we were invited to this directors meeting. Then we went to the directors meeting, and we basically just told everyone there, hey, this is what we've been doing. We're working for this specific type of nonprofit. This is what our goal is. We're very passionate about it. It's work that we can get behind. And we want to give you an opportunity to jump on board with this as well. And at that directors meeting, we brought on 4 new clients. So after the first 4 or 5 months or so, then we had 5 clients, and now it started to feel like an agency. Like now it's like, okay, we're kind of legit now. Like we have paying clients, we're doing good work for them, we're passionate about it. We of course, our hair is on fire like most days, mine especially. So we're attempting to figure out processes and like, okay, well, we just ran into this red tape thing with Google, and I don't know how to get through it. So I'm like, well, how do you get through this red tape thing with Google? Like, basically, our entire business was me just like doing 1,000 Google searches every single week because I didn't know what I didn't know. And so I just got really good at Googling things. Like, well, maybe if I word the question this way, oh, great, there's a Reddit post about it. Like, let's go look at that and see, if someone can help me solve this problem. Okay, so that was like our first year of business. And then it took about 2 full years before I actually took a salary from the business. Now, we set it up as an S corporation, so we were taking owner draws and whatnot as well, but it wasn't really like a legit sustainable business that could actually pay a salary until about 2 years in. It was pretty slow. It wasn't just like we're gonna build this thing overnight and make $1 million. Like it was a very slow growing thing. And so about after 2 years, I came on board full time. And even for a little bit after that, I still had like a side hustle, like something that I did freelance work where I was paid hourly to do. And I was still doing some of the social media stuff that I had learned just because that's what I knew. And it's a great skill set that I could be paid for. But at this point, we're finally starting to get into, it's feeling, okay, we're rolling, we're an agency now, and now we're able to pay my salary. And then not too long after that, we started bringing on for-profit clients as well. Because once we really got good at managing the Google Grant side of things, we started realizing, well, we could work with an e-commerce business and do the same structure of advertising. Because now we know all the bells and the whistles and the buttons to push and things like that, to where a lot of this should still apply to for-profit. So we kind of tested that slowly. We brought on, I want to say our first for-profit client was an e-commerce client. When we first started working with them, I think they made like $149,000 that year. So they're like a small business, blah, blah, blah. And they were like building products in their garage and shipping them out. So it was like really cool, like mom and pop shop thing. But they are still our clients to this day. And last year they cleared $2 million in revenue. And so that over the last 4 or 5 years or so, they've more than 10x their business. And that's something that we're really excited about because we've been their marketing and advertising for that entire time. And so that was something that we started seeing, okay, we love the idea of having someone that owns a small business, and then they come to us and they say, here's $1. And then we take that $1 and we say, okay, great, we're gonna put this into our advertising. And then we track that advertising, and we do all this complicated stuff like tracking IP addresses, like on their website, and do they go to card and do they buy a product, blah, blah, blah. And then at the end of the day, we can say, hey, you made $2 from that dollar that you put in. Well, when that happens, they're like, well, can I put more dollars in? You're like, yes, you can. And so you can put more dollars in. And so we've seen ranges everywhere from, there's some B2B stuff we do where like they will totally make money even if it's like 1-to-1 because they're building relationships. It's high LTV clients that you know, more like membership model, things like that. But then we have other clients that just sell like e-commerce and whatnot that we've been able to get like 7-to-1 returns where like they put $1 in and they get $7 out, which is incredible. Now we don't ever like guarantee that, but we're like, whoa, this is cool. So for profits was definitely a big milestone for us because it changed the game on like how we did things. And it was kind of cool because we are a very data-based company. We love like the numbers. And for some of the nonprofits, sometimes we would say, man, this is awesome. Look at all these cool numbers of people going to your website and people engaging with your stuff, people signing up for a newsletter. But it was kind of hard to gauge, like let's say if we worked with a church, it's hard to gauge like, hey, you're putting out there, you know, that you're a local church near them. But it's kind of hard to gauge like who saw that ad and clicked on it and then like showed up at a Sunday service. That was very difficult to track. But in the for-profit world, if we were working with an e-commerce store, we could say, no, you put $1 in, and then we literally tracked every click from the, I know that sounds creepy. It's kind of creepy, but it's all like anonymous, and no one's names or information shared or whatever. Google's crazy. But there's that thread that we could follow and say, okay, cost per acquisition, like what it costs to get this customer is $20, and they spent $60. So, and if they swipe their credit card, we can see the transaction. So you made a 3-to-1 return. So you put $1 in and you got $3 out. That was cool. I love being able to say that to people, especially when they're small businesses. When it's someone that like, and we've worked with a couple of like really big clients. We landed this client that was owned by like a Fortune 500 conglomerate. We're like, we're legit now. Like we're so cool. And because we got this like massive client, it was a big contract. It was so fun. And then after about like 4 months, we were like, this is not fun. Like this is not, we were in the corporate structure and we're like trying to make 5 different people happy. And there's people that literally like, this person wants this thing, this person wants something totally different, and they conflict with each other. And we're like, how do we make everyone happy? Like, how do we give you what you need? Because it wasn't as simple as, hey, can I just put money in and get money out? It was more so, I want to protect my job or I want to do this. So anyway, I don't want to gripe on that too much, but we learned very quickly, like, we have more fun when I can say, like, you put, you know, $1,000 into advertising, we brought you $3,000, and that money went to like your kid's college fund. Like that's cool to us to be able to say, like, we know that what we're doing means something to an individual or a family or whatever. Okay, so growing the team. Next big milestone is bringing on more team members. We did an internship for a while at UCA, which was really cool. And then we started hiring some part-time employees as well. And then back in, I don't remember the year, it's been a few years now, we brought on our first full-time employee who still works with us remotely out of Mississippi. He leads our tech team. He's absolutely incredible. His name's Josh. And so we hired him, and then continuing to grow the team. We have Matt on our team now, who's absolutely incredible and leads our client advocacy team as our client consultant. So those are some other big milestones for us. And then another one that's huge that only started a couple of years ago is the EOS process. So if you're familiar with EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System, or the book Traction by Gino Wickman, it's awesome. It really it kind of put a mirror up in front of me where I was like, oh, I feel pretty good about, like, you know, the processes and the systems that we have going on. And it was like, no, you suck. And I was like, oh, well, okay, I guess I suck. Like I need to start working on some of these things. And so EOS was huge to help us align our core values, our mission, our vision, our processes. It was just a really cool part of our journey. So highly recommend EOS stuff. And then the 10X Growth Accelerator. This is plug AIC that is connected with Arkansas Conductor, and there's the 10X Growth Accelerator that we were graciously allowed to be in, and it was absolutely phenomenal. And it really launched us forward in areas of business that we just had no clue about. Like there were lots of stuff where like, yeah, I know that, I've done that for 8 years, you know, blah, blah, blah. But there were just these things where I'm like, wait, tell me about the sales cycle again, and how about what the process needs to look like, and the difference between an appointment setter and a deal closer. And I just didn't know any of that stuff because we had been word of mouth for 7 years, excuse me. And so we never had like a legit sales team. And so the 10X Growth Accelerator was incredible because it opened us up to a world that we just didn't know very much of. And we learned a ton in that process. And that kind of brings us here to today, which is where we're at. We're here at the AIC. In fact, speaking of which, AIC, another huge milestone for us is getting involved with the AIC. It is absolutely incredible. In my opinion, it is an absolute no-brainer. If you are a small business person that is anywhere in the vicinity of the state of Arkansas, you should be leveraging the incredible benefits and values that the Arnold Innovation Center and the Arkansas Conductor both offer. They're absolutely incredible. And so we actually have our office upstairs. Anyone who would like to stay after and come see our office, you can. It's actually not an ugly corporate office because my wife told me to sign it. And so we have our office upstairs. We've been working out of here for a while now. We were kind of in that early phase of businesses coming on board, and it's been absolutely incredible. So the next thing I want to talk about is a few of the struggles that we had along the way. I'll be perfectly honest with you. Probably as the CEO, my greatest personal struggle that I've dealt with so far in 8 years is really dealing with imposter syndrome. To really come into that place, and I grew up in a very frugal mindset, which I value so much to this day, and it's why we've returned super expensive dinnerware for Walmart dinnerware so that we could buy chairs. I very much appreciate that mindset. There was this wall that I had to get past, and it was the wall of when I charge someone for my work, what gives me the right to charge a single penny more than what I would be making to push shopping carts at Sam's? And that was a really difficult barrier. Now, I will say, there were months where I made, and I calculated it, like 80 cents an hour. So, okay, there's the flip side of that as well, where like there's some really difficult times where it's like, yeah, we're not making a lot of money on this account for sure. So there's a flip-flop there. But there was really this struggle. Especially we would do the way that we do our billing is through ACH transactions, and so it's where I literally go make an ACH draft from our clients. And for the first couple of years, it was weird. It was a weird feeling to be like, wait, so I just like do a whole bunch of work for you, but then you just give me permission to take money. So I can just take money from your bank account. And that was really difficult. And to be honest, I really think that we've had a really steady and healthy growth trajectory, but it's been really slow. And I know that a large part of that was due to my own mindset. Because there were fears, there were insecurities, there were things that I just dealt with that were really difficult to overcome to get to a place where, and I believed that what we were doing was adding exponential value. Like I said, that's been there since the start. But it was almost like this disassociation of, I know you're getting a lot of exponential value, but why should that automatically equate to me making money? Like, what if we just give you value, like instead of making awesome? So there's this really difficult kind of, and I've and all of a sudden I talk to other entrepreneurs who are like, yeah, that's called imposter syndrome, and it's super common. And I was like, oh, okay, so I don't feel so alone. So that was one of the difficult things. And all of that to say, there were struggles. There were times where things were tight. There were times where we didn't have a lot of growth. Although, as far as the growth trajectory, I would say a lot of the struggle has just been kind of the slowness and either my lack of discipline or not having systems and processes in place. And then probably most important of all would be mindset. So not having that true abundance and growth mindset was really difficult and I believe held us back for a while. All that to say, the encouragement is like, wow, that's a downer. Well, here's the encouraging point. I have one client testimonial that I will share with you. And this is kind of like my North Star that I think of whenever it's like, okay, are we legit? Are we adding value to people? It is from a lady named Danielle, and we had already been serving their organization. We've been serving them for years now. And Danielle said, we were in a meeting with her one time, and she said, we won't pay the light bill before we turn off the ads. She runs a nonprofit, and it was so meaningful to her that she was like, oh, we'll fail to pay the light bill before we turn the ads on. And so that was something that for us, we're like, okay, we're doing something right. If we can add that much value, we're probably doing something right. And then I would say maybe one other thing that has been difficult or that I haven't learned is like price point. It's like not knowing what to charge. Because we have a lot of people that are like, you don't charge enough. We've been in a pitch meeting with someone who wasn't even our client yet. And they were like, all right, tell me about your services. We told about our services. And then we told them how much it cost. And they were like, yeah, you're not charging enough. And I was like, that's a weird thing for you to say. Like, you're not even our client yet. And you could just be like, sounds good. Like, just come on board. But they're like, no, you guys aren't charging enough. So that may be something that I still haven't fully learned. But there have been some incredible lessons along the way for sure. And so some of the big lessons and like things that as a team and then me as a CEO, like things that we've learned. This is one of my favorite quotes on leadership by a guy by the name of Jeff Standridge, who some of you may know. This quote, I'm going to read this real quick and then talk through a couple of the lessons that we've learned. Leadership is the most important requirement for business and personal success. In simple terms, it is defined as the willingness to be held accountable for results, and then to fulfill that responsibility, no matter what the external situations, circumstances, or pressures. And that was something that really hit me hard. Like, okay, so leadership is not just about having good ideas. Leadership isn't necessarily just about working hard. Leadership isn't necessarily just having good communication and interpersonal skills. Leadership is a willingness to be held accountable for results and then doing whatever it takes to fulfill that. Another important thing we learned as a company and kind of building out our company structure is that the mission, the vision, the core values, the meeting structure, the weekly responsibility, really just EOS, like the model, having a system in place is crucial. If you don't have a mission, what are we even doing? If you don't have a vision of where we're going, how are we going to get there? There's a great quote from Alice in Wonderland where the Cheshire Cat, they come to the Cheshire Cat, there's a fork in the road, and Alice is like, well, which way do I go? Do I go right or left? And the Cheshire Cat says, where are you going? And she's like, I don't know. And then for this cartoon that someone wrote while they were super tripped out on acid, has a great nugget of wisdom where the Cheshire Cat says, well, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. And that is something that has been really cool for us because we're like, okay, it matters where we're going. And so that's one of the biggest lessons learned for us is having a mission, a vision, core values. Like I said, that was something we had even before our business name. Having the core value of always adding exponential, but that has dictated literally everything we've done from hiring decisions down to answering individual emails. And so that's another super important piece. And then lastly, one important lesson has been hiring the right people and trusting them instead of just trying to do more. So hiring someone that we can say, I trust you. I believe you're going to rock this. So much so where I'm going to take my hands off. Not that we're just like, okay, go have fun, like where we don't, help. We've got a great onboarding process that we've been working on and blah, blah, blah. But really just the idea of hiring someone who is good at their job, someone like Mac, and then saying, Mac, you go do this thing, I trust you. And then allowing that to push the business forward. Because we only had to do that one time for us to realize, wow, our business is so much better now when we hired someone who was really solid and then we trusted them to do their job well. And then lastly, for this section, I don't think, I had a section of like, what are your regrets? I don't think I have any regrets, but I definitely admit that we have grown more slowly due to my own faults. As a leader, as an SEO, there were times in the last 8 years where this just didn't apply. I was not living up to the potential that this quote would give. Of, hey, a willingness to be held accountable to results and then see that through no matter what. That was something that I have not always faced. So I wouldn't say that we have any regrets, but we can definitely see areas in the past where, like, yeah, if we had done this better, if I had a better mindset, if I hadn't, had the fear that was holding us back, then we could have done something potentially even more. So that is about it for our story. Now I have a cool section where we're going to do a little bit of an exercise where you get to be the CEO of your own marketing agency for a period of 7 days. So here's how this is going to work. This will be fun. So before we open up for questions, we're going to do one thing. Pretend that you are the CEO of your own marketing agency. This is a QR code And it's a link to my calendar where I do free consultations for any organization, for profit or nonprofit. Take a look at their model, their marketing funnel. It's not a pushy sales meeting. It's very much just like, hey, we want to add value. It's their core value. Add value to you. Let's see if we can add value in this meeting. And if not, totally fine. So this QR code goes to my calendar for that. And so what we're going to do is each one of you can pretend, if you want to, you can pretend to be the CEO of your own marketing agency. And for every person that you refer to us that schedules a meeting, then I will just send you a $50 Amazon gift card. There's no gimmicks, there's no, strings attached or whatever. The only stipulation would be that like they're actually someone who's the decision maker of a business that has like a 4-figure a month marketing budget. So we'll say that's the only stipulation. But other than that, this is literally just, if this is something we're like, oh, I know someone that would need advertising, I know someone that needs marketing help. They don't have to become our client. They don't have like there's no sales pitch to where it's gonna be like, oh, are you ready to sign the dotted line today? Well, I don't know what's the dotted line they sign because we don't have long-term contracts. So this would just be an opportunity where like, you want to have someone schedule a meeting with us, do it, and we'll send you a $50 Amazon gift card. And then if they do actually become our client, I'll send you another $250 Amazon gift card. And so this will be for the next 7 days. So anyone that wants to, you can take a picture of the QR code or scan it. And for the next 7 days, then you can be the CEO of your own marketing and advertising agency, and you can put CEO on your resume. And if anyone has a problem with that, you can have them call me. Right? Awesome. All right, let's open up for questions. Questions, thoughts, comments, violent reactions?
You said you do not require contracts in your agency, which is not the norm in most agencies. Why did you make that decision, and has it hurt you feel, or has it helped you?
That's a great question.
Thank
So we made that decision. I will be perfectly honest, that decision may have come from that kind of imposter syndrome fear of like, I don't want to get you locked into anything for 12 months. Let's test it out for a couple months, see how it goes. And if you don't like it, then we will gracefully part ways. So that might have been the source, which I never thought about that. So thank you for asking that. That may have been the source of why. Really, it was just that when we first got involved, we started rubbing shoulders with other agencies, and other agencies would be like, oh, well, everyone has to sign a 1-year contract. We're like, that seems long. And then other agencies would be like, oh, and we own all of the accounts. We do all the ad spend. Nothing is owned by the client. We can bow out anytime we want to and they get nothing. We're like, well, that seems weird too. Like, and then it's like, well, we also charge based on percentage. So if you spend $100,000 a month, we're always going to charge on a percentage of that. And I was like, well, that doesn't we don't have to charge that much. So how about we just put how much money we can be profitable at and only charge that much? And so there were things like that where we were like, we don't really like the way other agencies are doing things. So that started the conversation of what can we do that's crazy different? Like, how can we be different than all the other agencies? And we're like, well, we could do a 3-month contract. Well, I know some agencies will still do like a 3-month contract. I was like, what if we don't do contracts at all? Well, I guess we could. And what that did, and so the answer to your second question of like, has that helped, hurt, whatever, tremendously helped for 2 very important reasons. One is lead qualification. We do not we tell clients no. We do not bring on a client unless we can see ourselves working with you and adding exponential value to your business for at least 5 to 10 years. And if that answer is, hey, could we add, is this a one-off? Like, are we just going to test this and it might not work or it might work? There's sometimes we're like, nope, we'll refer you to someone else that would be a perfect fit. And so we'll say no to that business. So that's one thing, is it's helped us qualify our leads more, where we're actually looking for a relationship and alignment and fit for, can we add value in long term? And the other super big reason for this is the client retention rate, I think, that we have is, I believe that that's directly proportionate to those types of decisions. So we have an absurdly, by industry standards, we have an absurdly high client retention rate. The reason we haven't needed a dedicated sales team to keep on bringing leads in every single month is because typically clients get started with us and then they don't leave. So because we have such a high retention rate, we don't have what is the super dangerous and bad word in the marketing world is churn. to where it's like you're losing more clients than you're bringing on, and so you got to make more sales, and you got to keep always your head above water so that you don't drown. And we've just never had to deal with that, because when we bring someone on, it's for the long term. And we come back to that phrase of, if we were to ever stop adding exponential value, why would you keep paying this? And so that in and of itself, if we did contracts, we wouldn't be able to say that. But since we don't, then we can. And it breeds a lot of trust in our clients, and we've seen it pay dividends for things like lead qualification and client retention rate. Great question. Anyone else? Yes.
What's the lowest amount of account that you'll take as far as for ads?
Great question. So like I said before, a little bit different than other agencies, where an agency may say, you know, it'll cost you $2,000 a month, blah, blah, blah. And then that's just the one number. For us, we sell it. So we have a management fee, which is what we need to say to be profitable. But then we have the ad spend, which is totally separate. And ad spend is really depicted by the client. So for us, our minimum threshold to bring on a client is $750 a month in ad spend, or I'm sorry, in management fees. Our recommendation is always that you're spending at least that amount in ad spend as well, but it's not required. It's just essentially, and that's something we talk through, like, look, if you spend $10 on ad spend, that's not going to move the needle. And you're not going to have enough data for us to make good decisions on making the account better. So for our threshold is $750, and that's for nonprofits. So $750 a month. And when a nonprofit comes on board, that can literally be it. Because if we can get them access to a Google grant, the ad spend's covered up to 10 grand. And another thing we do, excuse me, that I failed to mention before, is we actually price by performance on utilization of the grant. So if we start a grant with a nonprofit and it's just not going good, and they spend like $100 on the grant, we will charge them $50 for that month instead of $750. So we charge 1/2 of what we're able to perform for the grant. And that has been something we have been tested on a few times. Remember when I said earlier that I make 80 cents an hour 1 month? That's because I sent a $27 invoice to a client because we had only spent $54 on the grant. There was a red tape issue with Google that eventually got worked out, but it took us 4 months to get a real person from Google on the phone. So that wasn't fun. But that client has been with us ever since and is one of our most loyal clients and referred us another client. So totally worth it. Great question. Anyone else?
What would you say is the vision for the company over the next like 3 to 5 years?
That's a great question. We have very specific. I could pull up our company map and show you exactly that by December 31st of 2026, we want to be actively adding exponential value to 239 teams. Very intentional language of that we have set up for not 239 clients, because we do white label partnerships and stuff as well. But 239 individual entities and organizations that we're actively adding exponential value to. And then the longer term vision, we have more of it doesn't have a date on it intentionally, but just our big mountaintop experience is to serve 1,000 nonprofits that are the same type as Maria's. Anyone else?
I'm just curious, do you have a special strategy to get more clients to get your goal?
We do now, thanks to the 10X Growth Accelerator. We honestly didn't, but we had some structure and system in place, but it was usually, hey, so-and-so said that they might want to work with us. Like, can you follow up with them in a text? And we kind of had this like messy pipeline, you know, no real like sales strategy and involvement and stuff. That is a totally changed now. We have a system in place, a defined sales process, a client type to go after, a lead sheet to fill, appointment setters, deal closers, pitch decks. So there's I wouldn't say any of it's like a secret sauce, like just incredible, groundbreaking things, but it is a structure and a system that when we use it, it works. And so the answer to your question is yes, but nothing that we're just like, oh my goodness, we've got the greatest sales process that you will ever see. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Yes or no? Okay. I'm a professor at UCA. I teach AI. Okay. I'm coming here trying to see whether you have some challenge I can use in my class.
Oh.
Okay.
I have
So,
lots of challenges.
yeah. So I'm thinking, how do you generate the leads? Because you do have a plan,
Right.
but I was thinking, maybe AI or whatever. How do you generate your leads?
That's a great question. There can be some, we actually have used AI in some of that, not necessarily lead generation, because we don't use any AI that's like, sure, here's this person's phone number. I'm like, that'd be creepy. But we do use AI to say, hey, here's our client profile. And so we want to reach this many people. What are organizations, conferences we need to be attending, newsletters that we need to be a part of? And we've gotten some pretty good results from AI on that to say, tell us how we can engage with this section of the marketplace better. But as far as like actual lead generation, most of that's going to be manual. So we'll have hey, here's a list of 2,000 nonprofits where you have kind of the name of the nonprofit, but we need a phone number and a director's name and things like that for us to get in contact with and offer them something. That's something that's still pretty manual. So if you solve that, I will be your first customer because that sounds great.
I'm just curious.
Yes.
Do you have any other example about your prompts? I'm just curious.
Oh, for AI?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I've got a bajillion things for. I mean, we use AI for keyword research. We use it for all different kinds of stuff.
To generate leads.
Oh, to generate leads. Not much more other than that. Getting some like helpful. It's really good to help us figure out. Hey, we don't know a lot about this thing for these types of leads. Can you explain to us? How do we go about doing this? Can you help us write a sales script or something like that? So definitely leverage it, but I'm sure I'm not leveraging it as to the benefit that it can be. If that makes sense. Thank you. Thank you. Did you follow up?
I was just gonna ask, like, how would you describe your champion client, champion nonprofit that you want to best serve?
Yes.
What does that nonprofit look like?
Yes.
What
So-
types of services are they providing?
That nonprofit specifically is a women's health clinic, 501c3 nonprofit. It can be pretty small, but basically above like a certain threshold where they have like contributions and things like that. There are specific firmographics that we're analyzing to say, is this a good fit or not? But it's someone that we've started with 8 years ago, and if we could do it in our sleep. So it's basically saying, hey, you're a 501c3 nonprofit, you're about this size. This is the clientele you serve. It's very lead generation heavy. We know the landing pages we're going to use to send them to. We know the website style and structure. We know how the account's going to be structured. We know the targeting. All of that stuff is very predefined for that kind of champion. And I will also say this, it is among the lowest money makers for us as an agency in comparison to maybe, okay, well, what if we go get another, the client that just made $2 million last year, they're one of our larger clients now. And so that's great. But it's because our goal is not just a pile of money to sit on at the end of the day. Our goal is to align with this specific type of 501c3 nonprofit. And so our goal is to serve as many of them as possible. So that's our goal. And it doesn't really, as long as we can be profitable as an agency, it doesn't matter that we're squeezing every penny out of that.
Sweet.
Anyone else?
Do y'all have any clients in like financial sector?
We do. We actually have a couple. We've done a couple things around that because like financial advising, insurance, some of that does this a little bit. But we do have experience on both the Google ad side and the YouTube side for generating leads, specifically for like financial advising, retirement, Medicare insurance. I tell people we've sold everything from Kydex holsters that someone made in their garage to wedding insurance packages because we have sold that as well.
And you mentioned Google as well as YouTube. Where else do y'all, do you advertising for people? Nowhere.
We are hyper specialized and focused on Google. The way we tell people is we do one thing 3 ways.
Okay.
We do Google ads, and we do that with Google grants for 501c3s. We do it with normal Google ads, performance max campaign, search network advertising, all the things that follow in what normal people think of when they think of, what people normally think of when they think of Google ads. That's also us. And then YouTube. And it's because YouTube is owned by Google, right. So it's the same platform.
Yep.
We have white label partnerships. So for instance, if we're working with a client that we worked with for 5 years, this conversation happens a lot. Hey, you guys are so awesome. Will you manage our Facebook ads? And we always used to say, no, because that's not what we do. It's not our focus. And so we would say no to money on the table because it's not what we do. Now we're getting a little bit smarter and getting some strategic relationships in place where we can say, yes, we can, and then subcontract that out to someone who really does it well, because that way the client gets to keep everything under one roof, which is really important to to several of our clients. They get a great product because we're not just like, okay, how do we run Facebook ads? Like, no, we're using an expert to run Facebook ads. And again, that's not a very profitable thing not a very profitable thing for us because we're usually paying most of that to the subcontractor, but it helps our client and it adds value to them. And so that's what we do. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. Anyone else? I think we have a couple more minutes. Yeah, we have a couple more minutes if we want to do any other questions. Awesome. Good to go. Thank you so much, guys. We're awesome.
Mark, I don't know why I'm up here because Mark gave us an ad for AIC, Conductor, 10X. So he handles all that, but to go into some detail about a few things that we have coming up, we have a strategic growth intensive on March 14th that will be led by our team here. And it's a full day session. We will provide lunch for those who register. So if you want to come and bring some team members with you, please join us and register for that. And then we have Building Operational Excellence on March 27th. That will be at UCA College of Business in room 311. And so we would love it if you guys would join us and some UCA students for that workshop. And then you can follow us on social media at AR Conductor on Instagram and then Conductor on Facebook and LinkedIn. And I believe, if I'm wrong, correct me in the back, our 10X Growth Accelerator applications are open or will be open soon. So if you have, they're open? Okay, great.
Just do it. Just do it.
Just do it. If you have questions about it, ask our team. We would be here to do the application, and you can always ask Mark because he's an ambassador of all the things that we do here. So we appreciate you guys coming today, and we hope to see you next time. Thank you.